The importance of properly terminating Medi-Cal. Hi, I'm Kevin Knaus with InsureMeKevin.com, and Covered California and Medi-Cal are intertwined, and if you do not properly terminate Medi-Cal, it can cause problems with Covered California and other health insurance down the line. Now, a proper termination of Medi-Cal is when they find that you are ineligible. You do not qualify for the Medi-Cal health plans. That way, they just don't look at your case any longer. Now, there's a couple different scenarios that when they occur can come back and kind of bite people. So the first scenario is Deborah decides that she does not want Medi-Cal and she calls Medi-Cal and tells them to terminate that. That's perfectly fine. Deborah is within her right to terminate Medi-Cal. However, she wasn't determined that she was ineligible. She just said, I do not want Medi-Cal. Now, if you are outside of the open enrollment period, when you have a loss of coverage, an involuntary loss of coverage, that is a qualifying life event for a special election period to get into a plan through Covered California or off exchange. But if you voluntarily discontinue Medi-Cal, that is not a qualifying life event to get into Covered California or another health plan. Because if you're eligible for Medi-Cal, it is determined that you have minimum essential coverage. So just telling Medi-Cal you don't want it doesn't necessarily mean it won't come back and haunt you later on if you do need Covered California. The second scenario is when Brian failed to return documents that Medi-Cal was requesting for proof of income. Now, if you do not return the documents over a certain period of time, I believe it's 90 days, Medi-Cal issues a negative action that they couldn't verify your eligibility, and they terminate Medi-Cal. All good. Sometimes people can actually enroll in Covered California later on. We're not really sure how that happens, but it does because there is a negative action on the person's account, social security number, and Covered California and Medi-Cal talk to one another in that process. Now, it became an issue when Brian decided he needed Medi-Cal. And we actually went through, we reduced his income down to zero, but it wouldn't go into Medi-Cal because he had this negative action that he did not file that paperwork. So he was able to get it straightened around, but it could have delayed care. So when Medi-Cal sends forms and documents, fill them out and return them. I understand Medi-Cal isn't the most transparent organization. It's hard to get answers as to what will happen if you do this or don't do that, but just return the forms. Even if you have employer group sponsored and you're going, what is this all about? Just return the forms telling them I have employer sponsored group health insurance, and then you would be determined ineligible for Medi-Cal, and then everything is good. There can be instances when we forget to terminate Medi-Cal and it is ongoing, and that can cause problems too. Jenna had an employer group plan, but for some reason Medi-Cal was still ongoing. She was still enrolled in it, most likely because we were under a public health emergency because of the COVID-19 and they were not discontinuing anyone from Medi-Cal. Jenna then lost her group coverage. Well, she was still in Medi-Cal. She could not go to Covered California and enroll in a health plan with an estimated income because she was still in Medi-Cal. Technically, she could not get an off-exchange plan either because she had two health insurance, the group plan and Medi-Cal. The group plan, involuntary loss of coverage, but Medi-Cal was still good. It had never been terminated. So she technically did not have a qualifying life event for a special enrollment to enroll in that off-exchange health plan. And of course, some of these determinations, the negative actions can come back if people have children. I've seen it where people have gone into Covered California, everyone's eligible. But if there was a duplicate application years earlier and the children were on Medi-Cal and it was not properly terminated, Medi-Cal can go in and flip the children back into Medi-Cal. So the story is that you need to properly terminate Medi-Cal, and you want the determination to be that you do not qualify, you are ineligible. And that releases everything for you to go on with your life. Medi-Cal is complicated. I do not profess to be an expert. These are just situations and scenarios that I have encountered with Covered California and Medi-Cal and reading through the literatures. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them. So for InsureMeKevin.com, I am Kevin Knaus.